So with Derek Chisora coming off his huge win over Joe Joyce, right now, the Joe Joyce plans for fighting Daniel Dubois next in a rematch has been basically scrapped. Doesn't look like that's gonna happen unless something major or drastic happens. Um, so right now they have no options as far as Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois. That was talked about as a rematch. I'm not too much of a fan of talking about fights before they actually happen. Even with this Madrimov and Crawford fight, not too much of a fan talking about Canelo before the fight can actually be made or put together. But it is what it is. It happens sometimes like that. But with Chisora, coming off that big win, it hurt a lot of things for Joe Joyce because he was the favorite. He was expected to win, and now with Chisora spoiling the party, it's a lot of fights now that they're not really leaning towards. Um, Chisora didn't really mention anything about fighting like a Joseph Parker. Um, he was only mentioning at this point fighting Dillian Whyte, which is something that I don't know if it was talked about already, but it makes sense because Dillian Whyte was actually looking for an opponent recently, and I don't know if a lot of people thought that Chisora would be actually coming off a win. And with these guys coming off two domestic, well, I think Dillian Whyte just fought in Ireland, so with him having a win in Ireland and Chisora getting a win over there in the UK, it only makes sense if they can actually fight in Saudi. Maybe it will happen. That's what their goals were. Chisora said he was going to continue fighting whether he won or lost. And now that we've seen him win, it's a lot of people trying to shuffle the deck, and they don't know which opponent should be next for a Chisora or Dillian Whyte. But with Chisora saying they should be fighting next, it makes sense. I know that they possibly thought of Jilly Jane fighting, but I'll have more information on that later. But with Chisora possibly now jumping into the mix, I heard people mention Wilder's name like before Chisora fought Joe Joyce. So I don't know if they thought Chisora was gonna win. But with Joe Joyce now losing, it kind of spoiled the party for him and Joseph Parker to fight again. Uh, Joe Joyce is also looking at some other fights, but with him getting that fight taken away from him as far as the loss, now he has to basically think about if he's gonna retire. He got to hit the reset button again on something he just did already. Uh, After the Cash Ali fight, he tried to bounce back after the Cash Ali fight, and after coming off a win, but it's just not looking too good right now. The abilities is not there. The age is starting to kick in. It's getting hit a lot more lately, and he's going a lot faster now with Chisora. I figured in my mind that Chisora, he'll be able to last 12 rounds with Chisora, but the knockdowns, it didn't come as a surprise because after getting hit like that by Jilly John, I feel like that kind of actually did some trouble as far as his chin and his punch resistance. But he needs to basically try to bounce back after that. But I don't know if he's gonna have the chance because of the heavyweights. They don't want to sit around and try to make fights that don't make sense and put them together. They've done some sketchy fights that's questionable, but they're not gonna put a guy like Joe Joyce who's just lost like that in the ring with a top opponent, which can work, but I don't think it's gonna work. So right now, it looks like the Joseph Parker fight is not gonna be available for him. Joseph Parker wanted to get that rematch back. I don't think that'll be happening. So we'll have to see. The way these heavyweights are lining up right now and the way Chisora just did things, kind of shook things up, to be honest with you. If you didn't know, it definitely shook things up and kind of put pressure on Daniel Dubois as well. But it definitely shook things up. Now Daniel Dubois can't get a rematch with Joe Joyce like he was looking at. And that's going to hurt a lot of things when you look at it in the future. Because now Daniel Dubois has to basically carry the torch from Queensberry and Frank Moore, and it's putting pressure on everybody. And if he doesn't get the job done, it's going to put Queensberry behind the 8 ball. But right now, as far as heavyweights, Daniel Dubois can still spoil the party with a lot of different things. He goes out here and beat Anthony Joshua. It'll change a lot of stuff. This heavyweight division is turning out the way people didn't expect, but I'm glad it is, because everybody thought that certain fighters were just going to beat this fighter and I guarantee he'll lose and everything else. And they're catching guys at the wrong time. And a lot of these guys just aren't prepared as far as the competition. Like a guy like Daniel Dubois, he's prepared because he's been in there with tough fighters already at a young age. People just realize he's only 26. But that's all I got. Like and subscribe.